So our next stop was the city of Guadalajara. It's located in the state of Jalisco in the western side of Mexico. And we went to Guadalajara, a city, the second biggest city of Mexico actually, with a metropolitan area containing about 5 million people in total. Guadalajara was founded only 50 years after the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus in 1492. So the city was founded in 1542. Firstly, it had the name Espíritu Santo. Some fun facts about Guadalajara. People from here are called tapatíos. It contains a lot of beautiful churches. There's a lot of industry in Guadalajara, which makes it one of the wealthier regions of Mexico. There's also a lot of universities, so you can see a lot of young people in the streets, which I really like. They bring a lot of flair to the city. They're very active. They're alternative. They bring a lot of art and cool sights, nice modern cafes, and a good vibe in total to the city. Guadalajara has a lot of beautiful sights to offer. For example, one of the most famous one is the Cathedral of Guadalajara. It was built in 1561 and until 1618. And it is one of the oldest cathedrals in Mexico. However, the towers collapsed in 1818 due to an earthquake, so obviously Guadalajara is one of the many seismologic active regions in Mexico. The towers collapsed in 1818 and were reconstructed to neo-Gothic towers. Another remarkable site is the Templo Expiatorio del Santísimo Sacramento. It's actually very close to the place where we're staying at. It was built relatively recently in 1897. However, the entire construction was delayed due to political and social unrest in Mexico and in the area of Guadalajara until 1972. It is a neo-Gothic style church, and it has this beautiful plaza in front of it with a beautiful illumination at night. You can find some nice tacos or some sweets on the street at one of the many food stands. One other remarkable part of town, or basically it is a different town, however you don't really see the frontiers of the town, is Tlaquepaque. As funny as the name is, it has a beautiful historic center. There's basically two main streets of the historic city center that are beautifully decorated. There's cobblestone streets. There is this big plaza called El Parrillán, which is a central plaza with music, with restaurants, bars, and in general a beautiful atmosphere. And there you can also see that the mariachis are originated in this area of Mexico, because you always have mariachis playing. Also, it contains a lot of art galleries, so Tlaquepaque definitely worth a visit. Another beautiful little town, relatively close to Guadalajara, is Chapala. It is a little town near the lake Chapala, which is actually the biggest freshwater lake in all of Mexico. Next to this lake you have this beautiful promenade. You can see the sunset over the lake. You can see beautiful wildlife, like a lot of birds flying over the landscape. So it was definitely a beautiful visit there. You have these restaurants and also lined up a lot of vendors of traditional clothing, of nice hats. Like this hat is from Chapala. At the pier you can also take a boat ride to Scorpion Island. Scorpion Island has the name not because there is a lot of scorpions on the island actually, but because it roughly has the shape of a scorpion. We did not see any scorpions. We're a little bit disappointed, but it's safer, I guess. So another highlight in Guadalajara are the foods. So what we've noticed is that all the foods basically in Guadalajara are very juicy. The tapatíos love their juicy food. One is the birria, which is a stew made from traditionally goat meat, but also there's a lot of beef stews nowadays, a beef birria, and it is served with a broth, a beef broth, that you use to make the entire taco that you make out of the birria and the tortilla. You make it very juicy. We had one in Mexico City earlier, and of course here it's a traditional breakfast food actually, so our first breakfast in Guadalajara was birria. Another classic is carne and su jugo, which is also is ground beef. The translation is basically meat in its own juice. So it is slow cooked with some vegetables. I think it's like tomatoes that bring a lot of juiciness. Beans are traditionally served with it, and then also bacon. All over you have a very juicy, meaty stew. And it's served also with tortillas, like everything basically in Mexico, but also highly recommended. Also a popular dish here, very popular, is the Torta Ahogada. Ahogada means flooded. And it's basically that. You have traditionally a torta, the carnitas, so it's mostly pork meat. And after it's prepared, like a normal torta, but with a more crunchy bread, they dunk it in tomato sauce. Can be more, can be less spicy, but it is completely soaked in tomato sauce. That's why it's not so crunchy anymore. But also this is super juicy. Like birria and like carne and su jugo, very juicy food. As a dessert, there is a classic jericalla. Jericalla is like a crème brûlée, basically. Actually, I could not detect any difference to a crème brûlée. It's like a flan. So it's traditionally from here. It's worth a try, definitely. A nice little dessert. And then you have a traditional drink, which dates back to like Mesoamerican cultures, which is the tejuino. Tejuino is a drink made from fermented corn. They serve it with a little bit of salt, with unprocessed sugars, and on top of like lime ice, like ice and lime. So you have a very refreshing drink, like it's very cold. But in my taste, it was a little bit like it's a bit sour due to its fermentation process. And then we had a classic, which is not from here originally, but it is also a classic from Mexico. It's called Aguachile. Aguachile is like a ceviche. Ceviche is traditionally, I think, from Peru. And the aguachile is a very similar dish. We had it on a tostada, so like a crunchy tortilla. It is basically raw shrimp served with cucumber, with chili, with onions, and a lot of like lime juice. And like this, it is served. And that is it from Guadalajara. Looking forward to seeing you next time.